What's poppin', everybody? Welcome to Wire Sports Podcast, episode 122, aka the Super Series, Super Bowl. Are y'all ready for the Super Bowl, man? I feel hype. I'm the handsome host, Gene Walzak. I'm handsome today. I look good. No, all right. In my upper left corner, I got the man running the productions, running the ones and twos. I got Cottrell Simpson, Kent State's own, Cleveland's own, college Cottrell, not NFL Cottrell, because the Browns don't play in this month of year. And it's okay. How you feeling, Cottrell?
I'm all right, man. I'm ready to talk some ball. I'm disappointed because it's gonna be the last NFL game that we have for the foreseeable future, but I'm excited for it.
Why? Listen, I get when the NFL season ends, it has a little bit of disappointment behind it. But like, I'm good with my break, especially if you can end the season as Super Bowl champions. Like, that's a great break to have.
See, I don't have that luxury. So you get to like hold on to that and like, cling to it for like the next 6 months. I don't have that. My team's been done for about a month now. And, I got to just wait to see more football until August and September. So
now we didn't like the way Shally behaved. So we have him on mute for a little while. Shally, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's just quality of sound that doesn't come through. He just needs a guy. So I'm going to go over to Shally's house now with his microphone. Now, can you hear us? You can hear us, but we can't hear you. That's okay. We got a dynamite show, and Shally's going to sit on mute forever. But let's talk about the Super Bowl. We got, and I'm not throwing shade, Tiny. Come on, Tiny. No shade. It's just, look, I feel like that I'm 37, right? And I got an opportunity to talk shit like once in my entire life as a football fan. And that was Super Bowl 52. It's my second opportunity. I'm not used to this. It's like, it's something you got to get used to. I'm not used to being able to talk shit.
Act like you've been here before, Gene. You have. You were here 5 years ago.
Yeah, I was. We were. me and my team. I want to see the Browns in the Super Bowl soon. Maybe Deshaun Watson will eventually bring them there. I don't know.
That's the plan.
All right. So we got a lot to get into as far as the game goes. As soon as Shally can talk, he's going to just keep talking. And as soon as we can hear him, he'll just hop right in. That's okay. I will be 60, and I'm still waiting. Tiny, you can join us. The Philadelphia Eagles fan base will accept you. We accept all Tiny Williams participants. Just come on over. Come on over to the dark side. But we got the big game, Super Bowl 57, the Eagles versus the Kansas City Chiefs. You have Jalen Hurts versus Patrick Mahomes. Travis versus Jason Kelce. Andy Reid, Spags, Greg Lewis versus the former Philadelphia Eagles team. It's definitely an event, gentlemen. This Super Bowl will be one of the most televised Super Bowls of all time. It's anticipated. It's the first time 2 1 seeds have went up against each other since like 2000. Are you ready, Cottrell? Are you ready for Super Bowl Sunday? What are you doing Super Bowl Sunday? What does your spread look like Sunday?
Well, I mean, you got the audience making her classic buffalo chicken dip. Got to get some. Haven't absolutely finalized the menu yet, but we know that that's on it. We'll have the drinks going. I'm excited. I am definitely looking forward to it. Talk about the 2-1 seeds. We talked about it last week. What we presume is going to be the MVP of the league and the guy who's going to finish runner-up. So I'm looking forward to it, man.
I just want to know if Audie is sending me some of that buffalo chicken dip. I love me some buffalo chicken dip. And the diet can start on Monday because Super Bowl Sunday is upon us. We're going to have some food, a lot of things to go over, but most importantly, the football game. And cheeseburger, sliders, cocktails. What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Upset that there's no. Yeah, Shally. Shally is here.
What up, bitches?
Fashionably late, but it's okay.
That's how Shally rolls.
That's all right. Hey, listen, you're here. That's what matters. So, the Super Bowl Sunday, what's your spread look like? You going over Katie's with Travis?
No, man. I think we're going over the future in-laws, and we're doing homemade cheesesteaks and stuff. Can't have a Philly Super Bowl without cheesesteaks.
I'm with that. I'm gonna order like $100, $250 worth of food for myself.
Just keep RJ off the phone.
Okay,
All right.
RJ.
Bro, RJ, and I'm not kidding with you. By the way, shout out to my best friend RJ Kaler. Today is his birthday, February 8th.
Is it?
And I was gonna give him a shout at the end of the show, but you brought him up early. So happy birthday, my guy.
Happy birthday, RJ.
I will say this, and Kevin the troll was in the chat. It is one of the funniest things ever at RJ's house ordering food. Like we've been watching some football games at RJ's house recently, and I'm not kidding when I tell you this. It just goes on and on and on. Like we're like, there's 4 of us there. It's me, Kevin, RJ, and RJ's wife. And he's like, 2 pizzas should be enough, right? And he orders, well, what if we need a 3rd pizza? He gets a 3rd pizza. And then a buffalo chicken cheesesteak. Hey, I want some wings. He gets some wings too. And then he gets bacon cheese fries. I'm like, bro, there's 4 of us. The 2 pizzas would have been enough. I've never seen anything like it. Tiny says happy birthday too. I don't know if he's in the chat yet. He normally hops on later. He's probably celebrating his birthday, having dinner, but that's okay. So we got the Super Bowl, Eagles, Chiefs. So what I'd like to do, because I know I'm going to go on my tangent. I understand this. And we'll talk about Super Bowl props and who we think is going to win the game. But I want Cottrell. Cottrell is the guy that's the unbiased opinion. He's a Cleveland Browns fan that has no dog in this race. Get it? Dog pound. You see where I went there, Cottrell?
I do.
No dog in this race. Cottrell, open us up. How do you see this Super Bowl playing out?
So, I mean, everything on paper right now is telling me that this Philadelphia Eagles team they're the better team. I mean, you look at what they're doing defensively right now, the way that they're running the ball, and just the way that Sirianni is coaching. Like, I know this is his 2nd year in the position, but the way he has those guys rolling, you would think that he was this legit veteran coach. And, you know, you hear all this chatter from people like Julian Love of the Giants, you know, talking about it's the team, it's not him. But I'm not hearing that. He has those guys bought in and they're fighting behind him. And that Eagles team, they're showing a lot of resiliency. Obviously, at this time of the year, teams aren't going to be healthy. But you got Lane Johnson fighting through the groin, Jalen fighting through his shoulder injury, and on the other side, you kind of got the same deal. Pat, obviously, we saw the ankle sprain. Travis Kelce and his back. I think, you know, they're all going to be on the field. So I'm looking forward to it. The 2 weeks off, I'm hoping that these guys are at as much full potential as possible. As for the game in general, though, how I kind of see it breaking down, I do think Philly, they start off strong, just like they have been starting off strong this entire playoffs. I think with Kansas City, the strength of their team so far, at least, has been them getting after the quarterback. And, you know, those young cornerbacks that they have, they've been getting in a rhythm early. I think the Eagles are going to test them. I think, you know, we've seen A.J. Brown be a little bit quieter in this postseason as he was during the regular season. So I think they're going to get A.J. Brown involved. Obviously, they're going to run the ball. And I think the Eagles, if they get the ball first, I expect them to score on that first possession, score a touchdown. But I think this Chiefs team, they're a resilient group, and they're gonna punch right back. I think it's going to be a higher scoring Super Bowl. I think this is going to be a 31-27 kind of game. I really think this is going to come down to who has the ball last, and whoever has the ball last is who I trust. Like I said, everything is pointing for me to take the Eagles, but game on the line, I can't bet against Patrick Mahomes. And that's just really where I'm at right now. But again, I'm officially picking the Chiefs 31-27. If the score is that and Jalen Hurts has the ball and it's under a minute left, I'm banking on Jalen to go. And I think Philly to be celebrating that 2nd title for what it's worth. But officially, I will take Chiefs 31, Eagles 27.
Don't hedge. Don't hedge. I don't need
I'm
you
not
to
hedging.
hedge.
I'm not hedging.
If you want to pick the Chiefs, say it with your chest.
If I definitively thought the Chiefs were going to win this game, that's exactly what I would do. I just think it's going to come down. Like I said, I think it is literal last possession, and I'm taking the Chiefs.
I think we can all agree it's going to be a great Super Bowl. Now, let me give him a proper introduction. Coming to us finally, the Shallcross has come back to the podcast. A little
Okay,
wrestling
Dwayne.
instruction. Scholastic Shally, Uncle Shally.
Little
How
rock.
you feeling?
I'm good, bro. Hey, I don't know what it is. I feel like a champion today. Might be some foreshadowing of this Sunday. I think it is.
Okay, so this Sunday you have the Eagles and the Chiefs. Andy Reid versus former team. I know you won't be biased, Bill. I'm sure you have no dog in this race. So let me hear it, Bill. Let me hear the unbiased opinion of Bill Shallcross.
I mean, listen, we're gonna go over all the fun stuff. First Super Bowl with two African American quarterbacks starting. First Super Bowl where two brothers will be facing each other. Both teams #1 seeds. Both teams 16-3. Both teams have a Kelsey brother. Both teams had 6 Pro Bowlers, and both teams have an All-Pro quarterback this year. That's crazy to say all that in one mouthful. I'm going to go back to an old cliche, though, and I believe it, and I think sometimes it matters. Offense wins games, defense wins championships, and I think that's going to be the difference in this game. I think you have two high-powered offenses. I think you have a defense on one side that is great, that is playing at an elite level, and I think you have another one that's going to get exposed by an offense that hasn't been stopped all year. I think you go. This reminds me eerily similar to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I think you're going to have Patrick Mahomes with all the momentum and all the steam and everybody behind him going against a Tampa Bay team that nobody believed in or nobody thought was going to be able to stop Tampa Bay. And I think you have a very, very similar matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles defense versus that Chiefs offense. I think you have an offensive line that's a little bit banged up, and you have a defensive front for the Eagles. That's a pack of dogs. That's a pack of wolves. They want to eat. First Super Bowl team ever to have 4 guys on the same roster with over 10 sacks. I think they're going to get after Patrick Mahomes. I think they're going to move him off his spot. I know that's not always the best thing in the world because he improvises so well. But on the back end of that, I think you have 2 great corners that had 2 of the top 3 QBRs, lowest QBRs against throwing against them all season. And I think the Eagles defense is going to fare well. And on the other side of the ball, I think the Eagles are going to be able to not do what they want to do, but I think they're going to be very effective all day, like Cottrell said. I think they're going to. I don't think they're going to have a huge problem scoring points. I think Chris Jones is a stud and playing at a level that we've rarely seen before. I mean, he's Gene I think mentioned on another show. He's been in the Aaron Donald level this year. He really has, but he's been unstoppable. That being said, though, he's going against the best offensive line in the game. They have kept Jalen Hurts clean all year. They were first against pressures, knockdowns, fourth in sacks. That offensive line is clicking, and they've been clicking for all year now. And they've been clicking on a different level through the playoffs. I think the Chiefs are vulnerable. I think they're vulnerable against the run. I think Miles Sanders and Jalen Hurts are both going to have big days on the ground, running RPO. Their secondary is suspect at best. And I think if you give Jalen Hurts a clean pocket and give him time to throw, I think he's going to pick them apart. Wide receiver ones. I saw the stat today against the Chiefs. They are 31st against stopping the team's best wide receiver. I think A.J. Brown's going to have a day. I think Devonta Smith's going to have a day. I'm very high on Devonta that day on Sunday. I think it comes down to execution, and I think it comes down to execution, and I think it comes down to poise. Not going to say a bad word about Patrick Mahomes. We know what he is. We know what he can do. I just simply think he's outmanned here. I really do. I think the Eagles are just a better football team on both sides of the ball, and I think the Eagles are going to take care of business on Sunday. And I don't think it's going to be that close to the game, if I'm being brutally honest. I'm trying to talk myself out of that because I am an Eagles fan. I just think the Eagles are a step better than the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think they're going to prove it. I think a lot of people think the moment's going to be too big for Jalen Hurts, and I will argue to the death that it's not going to be. There's a lot of things you could say about Jalen Hurts. I was one of them, doubting how he was going to, continue to mature as a quarterback. But the one thing I was consistent with him always was that he was a good kid. He was a good leader. He has poise. He's confident. I don't think any of that's going to change on Sunday. I don't think the moment's going to be too big for him. And I think the Eagles are going to win their second national football championship on Sunday. I got the Eagles winning 34-23.
Okay, so the Philadelphia Eagles as a whole, if you remove the quarterbacks, right, just remove Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes, the Philadelphia Eagles are a much better football team than the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think that's an argument anywhere. Like when I look at this team, I think of wide receivers, I'd edge to the Eagles. Obviously, even adding Travis Kelce, I use receiving core, edge to the Eagles. Running game, edge to the Eagles. Offensive line, slight edge to the Eagles. Defensive line, edge to the Eagles. Linebackers, it's very close. I don't know. Secondary, definitely edge to the Eagles. Quarterback, big edge to the Kansas City Chiefs. As great as Jalen Hurts is, Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Let's break it down, right? Let's break it down in a way that I don't think either team stops. I don't think you're going to see a lot of defense in this game. I don't think either team stops one another. The best quarterback the Philadelphia Eagles have seen this season, and I hate saying this, but it's crazy, was either Jared Goff or Dak Prescott. Jared Goff put up 34, Dak Prescott put up 40. Don't take that lightly, Eagles fans, because I promise you, this is not Brock Purdy. This is not Daniel Jones. This is not Carson Wentz or Taylor Heineke or Cooper Rush. This isn't any of those guys. This is Patrick friggin' Mahomes. Trevor Lawrence is probably the best quarterback, but at this point, I don't think he was where he was week 2 when we played him. Here's the biggest problem for Kansas City, though. I think the Philadelphia Eagles defense could play man defense and slow down the wide receiving core for the Kansas City Chiefs a little. I think they can force a stop or two. I don't see how Kansas City can stop the Eagles' run game. I just don't see it. I know what Spags is going to do. He was my DC for a while. I followed him in Kansas City forever. I know what Spags does. You're going to see a lot of cover zero. You're going to see a lot of stack the line and make Jalen Hurts beat you over the top. That's the game plan. I wrote it down. I already know. The script is out. The game plan is load the box and don't let the Eagles beat you on the ground. But the problem is this, right? You still have to guard every single player on the field. And if you're going to give Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown one-on-one coverage versus Jalen Watson, I'm taking the Eagles receiving core all day there. So eventually when you have to drift out to a single high or a 2 high safety look, the Eagles are going to beat the crap out of them on the ground. The only way the Eagles lose this football game is if Jalen Hurts misses pass after pass after pass. I don't see it happening. I think the Philadelphia Eagles are the superior team. What I will say this, the Kansas City Chiefs have the number 1 offensive line in the league when it comes to pass block win percentage. The Philadelphia Eagles have the number 1 defensive line at sacking the quarterback. Something has to give. I think where Kansas City's biggest strengths are is in the middle of their line. With Joe Thuney, they have Creed Humphrey. Their line is stacked in the middle, but where they suffer a little bit are on those edges. Hassan Reddick will have a huge game. And I don't know if you do it. I don't know if you got the balls, but maybe sprinkle a little coin on Hassan Reddick as Super Bowl MVP. I see a late strip sack fumble. Hassan Reddick replaying the Brandon Graham in him with Brandon Graham recovering the fumble. And the Philadelphia Eagles win this game 30-27. That's where my eyes go.
Gene, we see the game. I was just going to say, we see the game pretty much exactly the same. You just think that it ends with the strip fumble. I think if that's the case, Pat will go score. So we see it pretty much exactly the same. And I agree. Like, I think the script is out, word to Arian Foster. I think the script got leaked here. We know what Spags is going to do. And I 100% agree with everything you said regarding that.
I just look at the teams like this, right? If you look at the Kansas City Chiefs wide receiving core, Pat is going to have to be scrambling a ton. And 3 weeks removed from a high ankle sprain, I just like the matchup better with Darius Slay, James Bradbury, Avonte Maddox, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson going against Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, Kadarius Toney, and Travis Kelce. Yes, Kelce is an absolute animal. But Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, like I said this versus Kittle, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson was a former cornerback, a very good nickel cornerback that is very good at protecting inside the numbers. And I think that he'll be there quick enough where Travis will get those 7. Look, take the over in Travis Kelce receptions. He's going to get a ton of 7-8 yard catches. It's going to happen. Like the Eagles are going to have to play over the top because they got to protect against that bazooka that Mahomes has. But I don't think that the X plays will come from Kansas City. And I think that the longer the game goes on and the more that you make Pat scramble on that ankle, the more you'll see fatigue and the more you'll see the Philadelphia Eagles defense do what they need to do to get a stop. I think the strip sack comes around the outside, and I think Hassan Reddick gets the ball. Brandon Graham picks it up, and the Philadelphia Eagles are your Super Bowl champions.
I can see it.
Guys, this is a game. This is a great game. This is a game between the 2 number 1 seeds that have the exact same record on the season, 16-3, including their 2 playoff wins. 2 teams that went through different roads to get here. The Philadelphia Eagles dominated throughout the playoffs. The Kansas City Chiefs survived throughout the playoffs. But Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni, you got the storyline there. Andy Reid gets to Kansas City. Nick is already on the staff. The GM and the ownership don't want to let him go. Andy Reid wants to clean house and bring in his own guys. Fires Sirianni. Sirianni goes over to the Chargers, works with the Chargers, then comes back and works with actually Shane Steichen. That's where he met him. Works with the Colts and Frank Wright. Comes to Philadelphia and gets his revenge. I can see it happening, guys. And not that he like owes any revenge to Nick Sirianni. Has said multiple times he respected the hell out of Andy Reid. Does it? Most new head coaches, especially ones like Andy Reid, that come into an organization want to bring their own guys. I understand that. I get that. I'm not saying him firing Sirianni is like the end of the world. But listen, Nick is one of those kooky, weird guys that uses weird things for inspiration and motivation. I can promise you right now, all this talk from the 49ers, from Julian Love and the Giants, it's being played in that Eagles locker room. That's who they are. Brandon Ayuk, we were getting ready to torch that. I would put every dollar I could on the Kansas City Chiefs. They're going to expose them. I guarantee that's played in the locker room right now. Just like it was motivation for the Chiefs last week versus the Cincinnati Bengals, it'll be motivation for the Philadelphia Eagles this week versus the Kansas City Chiefs. That's just, my 2 cents. And the Philadelphia Eagles get their 2nd Lombardi trophy. And next Wednesday, we broadcast from the parade. We're going to set the – nah, we can't do that. But I would love it, right? We would love it. Bill, you coming down to the parade with me?
I'll go.
But I got the Eagles 30, the Kansas City Chiefs 27. Let's talk about some fun props that we like in the game. Cottrell, what is your favorite unique prop? So what I mean by unique prop, I mean like, don't give me the, we'll all give our Gatorade color at the end because that's fun. But a unique prop, maybe the over/under on the anthem, maybe a specific.
I'm locked in. It's 2 that I actually. I got 2 unique ones that I like. If we're going that route, give me the over 206 on the national anthem. Chris Stapleton, I think he's going to go over that. I was looking at something earlier today. They talked about country singers when they do the national anthem. Usually the average is about 209, and so obviously that's over 206. So I will take the over there. First halftime song from Rihanna. I'm thinking that we're going to get Please Don't Stop the Music. I think that's plus 700 right now. Like those odds. It's going to be something popular. Usually, artist first song, they got to come out with something that everybody knows and, gets everybody going. I think that's the one. So those are my 2 fun ones outside of the Gatorade color.
It's really funny that you say that because Please Don't Stop the Music is 100% how I can see her coming out. I think it'll be Please Don't Stop the Music. I'm a huge Rihanna fan if you didn't know. I think Please Don't Stop the Music will be her opening song, but if it's not, I'm telling you right now, a little slide action to plus 1100. When the sun shines, we'll shine together. Told you I'll be here forever. Said I'll always be your friend. I'm going to stop singing or the show might go to the end. I got Umbrella, under my umbrella. I think that might be the prop of the first song for her. The over-under for amount of songs she sings is 8.5. I'll go over. She has a huge catalog of songs. So
and she's been away for so long.
She's been away
I said she's been away for so long. I think they're gonna want her to, perform some stuff. So
this is my favorite.
I might be against you though. I would take the under.
This is one of my favorite. This is one of my favorite like things that could ever happen at the Super Bowl. Like the only thing that could be better is if Eminem was performing with her. Like if she brings out Eminem and they do Love the Way You Lie, like I might lose. You might not. I might make the second half with overflow. We got Eminem, Rihanna, the Eagles. That is literally my life.
This is true.
I've been to 4 Rihanna concerts. It's fact. Bill looked up. He's like, "What? I've been to 4 Rihanna."
I knew that. I did know that.
I've known about Jeeves' love affair for Rihanna for a long time. That's his OG lady.
Oh,
actually, because actually I was gonna say, like, I think like when I first met you, like we had that conversation at some point. Like, so like I knew that about you very early on.
It's a good thing. I don't hide it. Listen, I'm not embarrassed. I'm who I am. I'm
a superstar, bro.
100% of the time. All right, so Bill, give me a quirky prop, a quirky one, because we're gonna get into some serious props. I think are definitely gonna hit, but like, give me a quirky prop.
So I saw this on FanDuel, and I didn't know what the hell it was, so I had to look it up. Are you guys familiar with what a scoregami is?
Yes, it's a huge number.
Yeah,
I am indeed.
That intrigued me. I think that's a no. I promise you, if I bet it, it'll probably be
minus 8,000, bro. I don't think you can bet no.
That one's interesting.
Lock into minus 8,000.
Lock it in. Listen, I'm getting an extra like 250 on your parlay. It's worth it.
Wait, Rob Shuck's out of hiding. Hold on, guys. Rob Shuck is out of hiding. I haven't seen him since the 49ers lost almost 2 weeks ago. I don't know. He's out of hiding.
Took him that long to dig his head out in the sand.
All right, go ahead. You got what's your second?
That was the most interesting one. For Rihanna wise, though, I do agree. I think I'm a huge Chris Stapleton guy. He's a little bit more of a slow guy. I think it'll go over. I don't know what Disturbia's odds are. I feel like she might open with that. She's got to open with something like upbeat. I don't think she comes out with like Umbrella or anything like that. I think she ends with that, if I had to be honest. I do agree. I think she goes over 8. I think there's too many songs she's going to want to try to get in. She'll sing like a verse of a song.
Correct.
I'm trying to think what else I saw that was baddie.
I got it right here. So first song that she performs, and this is all like lower odds, but whatever. Diamonds is the favorite. Shine Bright Like a Diamond, plus 220. Don't Stop the Music's plus 245 here. We Found Love, plus 350. Lift Me Up, plus 430. There's no way it's going to be Lift Me Up.
Absolutely no chance.
Like, she's not going to use the Black Panther song. No way.
Nope.
Umbrella's at plus 645. Where Have You Been, plus 505. Work, plus 800. No chance. Don't even waste your money. See, I like a little sprinkle. Plus 1,400 on You Live Your Life. That's not bad. That's not bad odds.
You'll see all those adjust crazy come Friday, because she's gonna rehearse Friday, and that stuff always leaks. You just got to pay attention to it. The problem is, once she usually rehearses, a lot of the books take it off because it's just them giving away money at that point. But
yeah, Don't Stop the Music is a heavy favorite. Plus 150 on FanDuel, plus 100 on Betano.
See, I got it at plus 375.
Look at you. I just can't see any of these other songs. No, I can't see any. I'm looking down. Love the Way You Lie's plus 3,000. There's no way that. It's just, I don't know. We'll stop talking about Rihanna. It's okay.
I mean, you're definitely not opening with that, but that's your possible Eminem cameo, though.
Yeah. Here's another one, right? And I'm gonna give you a serious prop that I don't understand, and I think FanDuel's trying to take your money because they know something we don't know. I'm an Eagles fan. So Miles Sanders over under rushing yards is 61.5. That's normal. Do you know what really shocked me? Bill, I'm sure you're looking at it right now, and you probably looked at it earlier.
It's one of mine.
Kenneth Gainwell over under rushing yards is 19.5.
Yep.
How do you not go over that? Have you not watched the Eagles recently?
I think there's some thought there. You're less likely to see some of those guys depending on what is going on in the game. Because I'll be honest, like you look at like Pacheco, like the last couple games, he hasn't, rushed the ball a ton. You're talking about 4 or 5 carries a game. You look at his total over under for carries in the game. I think it's 11 or 12.5. So I think coaches do things a little bit safer. I think if you're looking at it that from that point of view, they're thinking Miles is going to get the majority of the carry. They might not try to spell him with it being the last game of the year, so forth and so on. I agree with you. I don't think the Eagles are going to change that much. And the way they run Gainwell and even Boston Scott, I don't want to say it's a gimme, but I think there's a high probability that hits. That's a good one to throw in like a parlay type thing if that's what you're doing.
Dude, I got both. I'm glad that we're talking about it now. I do have Kenneth Gainwell over 19.5 yards. He's averaging 13 carries a game. He had 14 last game, 12 the game against the Giants. I 100%. I mean, if he gets 10 plus carries, there's no way he's under 19.5 rushing yards. And I think that'll be the case. I think the Miles Sanders thing is the one that was interesting to me as well, though, because at this point, like I know he had a good game against the Giants, but he didn't really see the ball like that many times, and he wasn't that successful in the game against the 49ers. And I get it, the 49ers have a better front than what the Giants did, but his numbers being at 61.5 actually kind of surprised me, and I like the under there for him because I think Gainwell is just going to be a little bit more successful. Plus, and I know they're not thinking about this now because the Super Bowl is on the line. I mean, Gainwell is going to be the future back of this team, so I think they're going to get him a rhythm. I'm not saying he's going to be your premier back, but Miles Sanders isn't here.
I think it's also one of the reasons you can run Miles Sanders into the ground on Sunday. I think they're going to be successful. I think Miles has a big game. I think Miles has a chance. If he breaks a run or two, I think he's there in the discussion at the end for MVP. I disagree with you on that one. I don't think there's any shot in hell Gainwell has 10 carries in that football game. None. I think if they're successful early on in the game with Miles, they're going to run Miles, till they can't run him anymore. He is their back. I mean, he's obviously earned it with the year he's had. And like to agree with you, I don't think they care what happens to him or how he feels at the end of that game because he's probably not on this football team next year. So run him till you can't run him anymore. I don't like Gainwell at 10 plus carries at all.
You don't like him over 19.5 yards, though? I think he can get that.
I agree with you on the yards. I think the way he runs and they run him a little off script, like out of game flow a lot. So, like you said, 3rd and 8, and they run him off tackle and he pops on. He's done it all year. He pops on for 10 or 11. I think he gets 4, 5, or 6 carries, and at that point, he's only got to average, a little over 3 yards a carry to get there. I like the over 19.5. I do not like the 10 carries. I just, especially if it is a close game, I just don't think he's gonna get that much run.
Okay. Cottrell, give me another unique one, another regular prop. Give me your first regular prop outside of Gainwell, which you gave me already, which we all gave over 19.5.
Yeah. I speak like keeping it on track with the running backs. Isaiah Pacheco under 46.5. I think that is a good prop to have. If the Kansas City Chiefs want to win this game, obviously you want to try and stay balanced. But Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce in that receiving core is going to be how you win this game. We know that the Chiefs do like this running back by committee kind of thing with him and McKinnon. I just don't see 46.5 happening just because the Chiefs, that's just not their bread and butter. Their bread and butter is Patrick Mahomes. And if they get close into the red zone area, then they run Jerick McKinnon. So I like under 46.5 for Pacheco.
I like the over 7.5 and the over 5.5 for AJ Brown and Travis Kelce receptions. I don't know about the yards difference, but I think the Eagles are going to feed AJ Brown, and I think he'll have 7 or 8 catches. And I like the over 7.5 catches for Travis Kelce because I think he'll have another 10 catch, 93-yard day. I really believe that. So I'll give you those two, and I have a couple more afterwards. Bill, give me a couple.
Because, just real quick, Gene, because you said that, I know on DraftKings you can get Travis Kelce at 6.5 receptions because I like the over as well, and that's one of mine.
That is, those are both actually on my list, and I'll throw another one on there where we're talking about wide receivers. Devonta Smith is at over under 5.5. I love that as well. I think both wideouts for the Eagles have big games on Sundays. I do agree with Gene. I'm not sure. I haven't really settled on where I think they're going to fall yardage wise, but actual catches, I think Devonta over 5.5 is damn near a lock as well.
I'll give you another one. I think that's almost a mortified lock. Like, it's just ridiculous. No matter how the game goes, win or loss. I'm going to be honest with you guys. And I hate being this honest about my Philadelphia Eagles team. I think the Philadelphia Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts, has a little bit of fear coming into this game. Well, what does that mean when you have a little bit of fear going into the game? It just means you might be a little apprehensive throwing the football. So what happens when you're a little apprehensive throwing the football? You scramble and you run the football. And that's how he gets in the football games. He runs, he gets the body, the juice is flowing, and he starts running the football. I think the over 49.5 for Jalen Hurts, I think he has 80 yards on the ground. I really believe that. I think he'll be the leading rusher for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I mean that.
I don't have any more like serious props. The one that I have down here though is total sacks in the game. It's at 5.5, and that's both teams combined. I would like to lean the over in that just because I think the Eagles are going to be able to get after the quarterback. And I think, like you said, Gene, I think Jalen is going to be try to get out of there. And even if it's a, no yard loss or it's a 1 yard loss, it's technically going to be counted as a sack if Jalen's trying to scramble and get out of there. So I lean the over 5.5 sacks there, but again, that's not one of my official picks. But I'm out of props, and I did have that one written down though.
This one's a little. I thought it was goofy, and the more I thought about it, I actually like it. It's shortest touchdown run under 1.5 yards, and I love yes in that. Obviously, you pretty much need a ball to be on the 1 or the goal line almost. But the way both these teams run the ball, especially with the way Jalen Hurts sneaks the ball, I think there's a high probability that hits as well.
All right, well then I guess there's only one thing left to do. We predict the Gatorade color. We do this every year. I'll pull up the odds for you guys. And they're all a little bit different, and I get it, but I'm going to just use FanDuel because they're the popular one. Now, you said you have a, let me just get off here, Super Bowl specials, coin toss. I'm going heads. I'm going the over on the national anthem. Come on, Gatorade. You got the Gatorade up for me, Cottrell?
I do not. The one I had when we talked about it, we had a different odds. FanDuel, I didn't see the Gatorade odds on FanDuel.
I haven't seen them all week.
Okay. I seen them on BetMGM, so I'll go back there. Gatorade color odds 2023.
All right, let's go look at BetMGM.
I got you right here. All right, the lines. So the BetMGM has orange is the favorite at plus 250, yellow or green at plus 350, clear or water at plus 500, blue at plus 500, red or pink at plus 550, purple at plus 900, and no Gatorade bath at plus 1600. What do you like there, Cottrell?
I mean, I like orange as like I had orange going in. I think it's going to be I don't think they'll do red or green just because of, teams that are playing. But I think purple could be the sneaky one though. I think you said it was plus 900. I think purple can be real sneaky there, but I like orange.
I'm going with orange as well. That was what my gut told me before you even read the odds off. So I'll stick with it and go orange.
I'm going blue, gentlemen. I think it's blue Gatorade this year. I think that if Philadelphia Eagles win, and I think what you do, and this is like a really interesting part. Like people are like, oh, well, let's find out how much Gatorade they have on their sideline or what they normally drink. I think you dump the one that has the most Gatorade in it, the least strength one, and I think that's blue. I really do. I believe it's going to be blue, and I think blue gets dumped on Nick Sirianni's head in Arizona, and the Philadelphia Eagles celebrate a Super Bowl. I think the Philadelphia Eagles will be kneeling the ball for a final play of the game also.
And I forgot. This was the other prop I had. I forgot to put it down though. Will the opening kickoff be a touchback? No. I say no. I like no at plus 130. Harrison Butker and Elliott, you're just not going to get a touchback in Arizona. It's not happening.
So I think that the opening kickoff is often ran out, and I think that a lot of teams now are kicking the ball into the corner. I think that both teams will run the opening kickoff out. I think heads is the coin flip too.
Yeah, especially in the Super Bowl, some of those guys, like I don't know who's going to be back there for Philly or for KC, but these guys are going to be trying to make a play. A guy like Kadarius Toney, like I know he gets playing time at receiver, but this is the one time that he actually gets the ball in his hands and can try to make a play. So I 100% think.
I thought it was really interesting. The Philadelphia Eagles had Devontae Smith back on punt return in the 49ers game for one punt, and he didn't judge where it landed well, and then they took him out, and the game got out of hand. But in Arizona, I don't think I'll have any problem judging the wind. So I think he might see Devontae Smith back on a couple punts if they need a spark. Boston Scott will normally be our kick returner, and Boston Scott is often tries to run it out if he can. He's also very conscious with the ball, so I have no issues with him running the football out. So yeah, that'll be interesting.
I disagree with both of you. I think the opening kickoff is a touchback. It's Arizona, it's thinner air, and it's most likely not going to be open. So depending on what the weather is, so there's a chance they're playing in a closed stadium. Both those guys have good legs. I'll just go with no. I'll disagree. I think it's a touchback.
Well, gentlemen, that's all we got for the Super Bowl. We're going to talk about it next week as we recap the game. Something happened this week, and I want to talk about I guess we should talk about the trade first. Let's talk about the Kyrie trade. A lot happened since last week. Kyrie demanded a trade. He got traded. He went to the Dallas Mavericks for a bag of Cheetos and some second-round draft pick. I've never really liked to give Stephen A. Smith flowers on this show. I'm often against him. I'm so on his side with this. Kyrie Irving has now forced his way or lied about staying at an organization 3 times. It's more than James Harden. Kyrie is in Cleveland, and he needed to get away from LeBron because he needed to be the head dog. And he went over to Boston, and he was pissed off that the Boston Celtics team did really well in the playoffs without him. Then he left to go play with Kevin Durant and said, I'm never going to leave KD. I'll never leave him behind. And this forced his way out of Brooklyn. Then he went on in the media and was just like, well, I wish I wasn't so young and I would have learned about the people in the organization before I agreed to sign there. I feel bad for Kevin Durant. I really do. I hate Kevin Durant. I've never been a easy money sniper guy. Never been a KD 35. But I feel bad for him. I really do. I think that he's in a situation where he was sold a bill of dreams to leave Golden State to play with his buddy Kyrie Irving and try to win championships. And Kyrie Irving is negotiated in bad faith constantly. He wanted to get in his contract that it was okay for him to play 57 out of 82 games, where he played 2/3 of the season. That's a joke. He asked for an extension after he signed this 1-year contract. They wouldn't give it to him. And now he's forced his way out and he's in Dallas. And 2 ball-dominant guards who are a scary backcourt, but they're 2 very ball-dominant guards are now playing in Dallas with Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Your initial thoughts about Kyrie, about the trade, and about his pairing with Luka, Cottrell?
So I'll disagree with you a little bit. I think Stephen A is a little harsh. I think that's a lot of what Stephen A says. I do think it's somewhat personal. I'm not saying that he's not wrong to think the way that he does, but I think a lot of his stuff when he talks about Kyrie Irving gets very overdrawn, and I don't like hearing Stephen A talk about Kyrie just because of how he does it. But as for him wanting out all that stuff, yeah, I mean, it's Kyrie. It's the same old song and dance with Kyrie. He forced his way out of Cleveland, which in a way I understood it. I hated it, especially as a Cavs fan. You want to go be the guy, go be the guy. You go to Boston and you're like, hey, I messed up. Like, he had interviews afterwards, like, playing with LeBron was great. I wish I would have known. And, and now I'm playing with these young guys. I got to be the mentor, all that. Clearly that's not him because he wanted out of Boston. And then you go to Brooklyn and be with KD. Again, I disagree with you a little bit too, though, because, Kyrie did only get the 1 year, the opt-in, but Kevin Durant did ask for a trade this offseason. And I know ultimately he rescinded it, but, James Harden left last year at the trade deadline. This isn't what they had in mind when they all signed up to be in Brooklyn. And I hate the way that he went about it. There was reports that came out that said Kevin Durant didn't even know that this was happening. But the way it sounds like is Kyrie Irving went to the front office, tried to negotiate a better deal, and the terms weren't anywhere close to each other. And so Kyrie said, I want out. I think a lot of it too had to deal with the Brooklyn Nets handling of the whole controversy surrounding him and the things that he posted on social media, and the idea around it, and him being labeled anti-Semitic and things like that. I think that also played a big part of it. That probably rubbed him the wrong way as well, how they handled it. And, I get that portion of it as well. But Kyrie doesn't conduct business the right way. So I will be on him for that. I think him going to Dallas, though, especially with an owner like Mark Cuban, who's going to keep it real with you, I think is a good situation, at least for now. And you talk about them both being ball dominant. They're both top 10 in isolated possessions. But I saw him work with LeBron. Like, I'm not saying Luka is LeBron, but Luka is, this ball dominant, bigger guard. And I think it can work. Obviously, Luka is not the same defensively, but I think this can work. They get enough buckets. I think they have that mentality in them. I think this can work where you got these two going at the Western Conference.
Okay, Charlie.
All right, so I'm going to go backwards here a little bit. I'm going to start with the trade itself and go into Dallas. I'm going to give LeBron his flowers here. LeBron is a little bit more versatile, and I think still even to this point a little bit more mature dealing with that whole situation than Luke was going to be. LeBron knows, for lack of better terms, again, how to make things work playing with Kyrie. There's going to be a learning curve between Luka and Kyrie, and I think it's going to be a bumpy ride. I think it makes Dallas better, I guess. I don't think it makes them a championship team. I don't. That was kind of the whole underlying thing for me. I didn't understand it. I mean, I guess if you get a chance to get them, to Gene's point, you gave up Spencer Dinwiddie and, Finney and, a couple of draft picks that aren't going to be high draft picks. So I guess you roll the dice and see what happens, and maybe they get hot, make a run. I mean, so to that degree, I get it. He's a free agent after this year. I doubt he stays there. So, but then to go backwards to the other part of it, I agree wholeheartedly with Gene, and I disagree wholeheartedly with Cottrell. I think Stephen A has the ability to get too personal sometimes, and I'll fully agree with that. I've been as critical on him as this show as any of the three of us have been. I don't think he's wrong about this, though. I think it's a pattern of behavior, and I also think I don't know why when a commentator does seem to take it a little personal or make it personal, why can't these guys be held accountable for their actions in public? Like I've watched it twice now. I don't think he said anything out of line, and everything he said was true. I think people look at it as, he's attacking him, he's doing this and this, but it's what he did. He got attacked for what he did and what he's continued to do. He's allowed to be criticized and held accountable for what he does and what he's done to these franchises and the decisions he's made. He's the first one to get on the microphone and be like, people who really know me and stuff like that. Well, dude, like all the rest of us can do is judge you by your actions, and you continue to prove everybody right. So I didn't see anything wrong with Stephen A. Matthew Godfrey put a funny comment on there. I always get mad at other people when my own actions blow up in my face. It's true. That's Kyrie's MO, and Cottrell even, hit on the one. He literally just won a championship and won it out because he felt like he didn't get enough of the praise because he played with LeBron. Went to Boston, sabotaged them. Because like Gene said, it's 100% true. They went on a run with him and he wasn't playing. He didn't like that he didn't get his flowers there. Then went to Brooklyn and it's been a disaster. More of that's coming out. Apparently when he had the meeting with Joseph Tsai, the owner, and Kyrie pretty much said, I want to go to LA and that's where I want to go. And Joseph Tsai apparently told him right to his face, there's no shot you're going there. And told him that's not what you're getting. We're going to trade you where we get the best offer for you. I think it got very contentious. And I'm not going back over the anti-Semitic thing again, man. I mean, I don't think he understands that if Brooklyn didn't do what he did, that the NBA was going to come down even harder on him. And he's too stuck in his own ways and his own feelings to see that he was going to get hammered by the NBA even worse. I don't think he understood the break that he got there by Adam Silver letting Brooklyn handle that internally. And then he went and took the post down again. So, I mean, that pretty much proves and shows you where he's at and where he feels about it. Any criticism he gets at this point, as long as it's accurate and truthful, I think he deserves.
Look, at the end of the day, Kyrie Irving has not done himself any favors from the bubble year to 2017 when he forced his way out of Cleveland. I don't think he's done himself any favors in any of these situations. A big talk of why James Harden wanted out of Brooklyn was not because of Kevin Durant. It was because of Kyrie Irving showing up when he wants to and the team not being committed to winning or holding him accountable. So I don't think James and Kevin were ever the issue. I think it was always James and Kyrie.
But see, that's the part that I kind of dislike though too, because we've seen James Harden force his way away from teams, and obviously, he hasn't gotten the same flack as Kyrie has. And I get it. Kyrie does more things that add on to that. Like I understand that Kyrie is, I mean, for lack of better words, he's a head case. You're always going to be dealing with something non-basketball related with Kyrie. And so I fully understand that. But, James Harden forced his way out of Houston. He forced his way out of Brooklyn. And, now he's with the 76ers and things are going well, right now. But when you guys first got him, you guys were critical of him. Like you're like, yeah, we're happy to have him at the moment. At least you said you were happy to have him, but you didn't like the way that he went about it. And I mean, to me, this is really
I still don't like the way he went about it.
No,
Facts,
it's really no different than that. But we didn't have this conversation when James got traded. And I'm not even saying us on this show because we did. But I'm saying naturally. You didn't hear Stephen A talk about, James Harden's character and things like that when it came to the trade. It was just like, hey, this didn't work, and he moved on. That's the only thing that I hate about the whole Kyrie thing because of that. Like, we're just not consistent across the board with it.
But it's not the same. It's not apples and apples. Like, you know, like I've been critical of James Harden on the show probably more than anybody. Like, I've gotten in disagreements with Gene about it. I don't like the way Harden went about it. But you even said it yourself. The difference is James Harden isn't posting anti-Semitic stuff. James Harden's not doing all the extra stuff. That's why he's not getting attacked personally. James Harden gets grief nationally for the ways he's handled it. And to Gene's point, I still don't agree with it. I still don't like the way he handled the Brooklyn exit and the way he forced his hand to come here. You know, but at the same time, it's, you know, it is all the extra stuff. That is it. Like, Kyrie's a great basketball player. If Kyrie isn't happy somewhere and forced his way out and went about it the way Harden did and didn't do all the extra stuff, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. But we are, because he does. That is the difference between James Harden and Kyrie Irving. And if you're making it that bad to where KD's at practice and Harden's not showing up, who is universally known does not like to practice, and you get James Harden to the point where he's throwing his hands up like, this is too much for me, that tells you all you need to know. Because Harden, again, like we all just admitted, is not the most committed guy to being like, yeah, it's like, let's trust the process, let's practice for 3 hours every day and be committed. He's not that guy. So for him to put his hands up and be like, I can't do this anymore with Kyrie, then it had to be really bad. It had to be really bad behind closed doors.
So let me take it a step further for you. What do you guys think about the talks that, and now granted, this could be Harden's PR team just trying to save face, that he always wanted to be in Philadelphia and the Houston Rockets traded him to Brooklyn and he tried to make it work, but he was in that extension and he didn't want to be with Brooklyn any longer.
I'll be consistent here and say I don't believe that, because I think that's an easy out for them because of Daryl Morey. I think it's easy for them to say, oh, well, we wanted to go back with Morey and Houston wouldn't do it, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that. I still believe Harden forced his way out of Houston and did what he wanted to do.
I think Houston was trying to put the screws to Morey. And I think that the deal that the Sixers got from Brooklyn was a lot better than they would ever got from Houston.
I agree with that too.
I mean, basically, if you look back at that trade, you don't?
No, I said I do.
He said he does.
You look at the deal the Sixers got from Brooklyn. They gave up Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, and what, a first round draft pick?
Drummond in that deal too.
Okay.
No, I mean I agree. I agree with that, but I guess my only counter argument would be I bet Philly would have preferred to have James Harden a year and a half earlier than when they got him. Obviously, James is still playing good basketball now, but he's not what he was 3 years ago.
Facts. All right. So furthermore, where do you see Dallas finishing this year before we talk about the next topic? I think Dallas is a Western Conference semifinal exit.
Ooh.
See, right now, I have no idea how the West is about to end up, because you got everybody 4 through 13 is separated by 5 games. So it's so weird right now. And you got the Grizzlies, who are one of the top teams, but they've been struggling. Like, they've went on a crazy run of winless nights. And the Warriors can't stay healthy. Nuggets are playing good basketball. I mean, I think it really just depends on how it shakes out. Obviously, I could see them going to the conference finals depending on what the matchups are.
I'm not. I don't think they get any further than the semis. I think that is probably best case scenario for them. I can see them going. But again, I can see them going out in the first round too. I don't know where they're going to finish. And to Cottrell's point, when is Steph coming back? Like, how healthy is Golden State down the stretch? You know, what does Phoenix look like now that Booker's back? Like, do they go on a crazy run? Denver is playing great. Does Memphis figure their shit out? You know, it's. I could see them finishing 5th. I could see them in the play-in tournament. I mean, it's so, the West is so crazy right now. I mean, what are the Lakers going to know? Are they going to get in? Like, no. There's so many. I mean, I don't think so either. But
I wanted to make a point, because all Lakers fans do exactly what Cottrell did, and I know it's like accurately and mathematically what he said was correct. So I have the standings up. So he's like between the 4 and the 13 seed. But the Lakers are a game and a half out of 12, right? The fact that you add the 13 seed into that conversation is an absolute Lakers conversation talk point. You talk to any Lakers fan across the country, they talk about that the Lakers they're only 6 games behind the 4 seed. And
if the Lakers were at 11 and the Thunder were at 13, I would have said the same exact thing. So I don't know what you mean.
I just think that when you talk about the Lakers, you're talking about a team that's 3 games out of the playoffs, right? The play-in game right now. And the 13 seed to me is irrelevant because that team is falling apart at the seams. And I'm going to get into that in a minute because I want to give the man his respect. But let me get into that in a second.
I guess I say that to say whoever's at 11 right now, I don't know what the exact standings are. Whoever at 11 or 10, like those guys might move up and they might finish 5th or 6th. Like that's more so what I meant when I say 4 through 13. Like it's just a cluster of teams that are all close to each other.
So 11 and 12 are 3 games behind the 5th seed.
The Thunder are at 12, right?
Yeah, the Thunder at 11, Portland 12. You can swap them, same record. They're 3 games behind the 5th seed, which is Phoenix. The Lakers are 5 games behind the 5th seed. So, like, why not cut it off at 12? Between the 4th and the 5th and the 12th seed, it's 3 games separate them. Like, why add the extra 2 games? Because, like, the Lakers, I just feel like they're so irrelevant. And I'm tired of Lakers fans shoving them in my face. They're not out of it. They're going to trade for D'Angelo Russell. Just a week ago, they were getting Kyrie Irving, and Kyrie Irving was going there. And the Lakers were offering Russell Westbrook. What was
Austin Reeves, Max
Christie?
No,
it wasn't Austin Reeves. Who was it?
Austin
Max
Reeves.
Christie.
Austin Reeves is untouchable, apparently.
I'm trying to give me a second. I'll tell you exactly what it was.
It was Westbrook, Christie, and Reeves. Like that was the
Lonnie Walker was in there. To play devil's advocate, though,
Walker, like Westbrook, Lonnie Walker, and they're like, "Oh, Westbrook, Lonnie Walker in 2 seconds." Like they were like, I wouldn't trade. Oh. If you gave me Westbrook, you'd have to give me Lonnie Walker in 2 seconds for nothing.
What were you about to say, Bill?
No, I was just gonna say. I mean, just to play devil's advocate. I mean, like, if you are down there though, with the way some of those teams are, if you do go on even a mini run and win 3 or 4 in a row, you can go from the 12th seed up until like 7th or 8th in the course of a week. It can be done. Now, it remains to be seen if the Lakers can win 4 games in a row. I get that, and in that aspect, I agree with Gene. I don't think that's in the cards anytime soon either. It's just, I mean, mathematically, I get it. But, I mean, listen, the Lakers are the Dallas Cowboys in the NBA. They're getting every free agent, every trade that's going to come up, they're going to get. Like, it's becoming the same MO with both teams. It's annoying.
So before we touch on LeBron James's unbelievable thing and the debate that's going to ensue following that, LeBron James last night broke the scoring record. Broke the most prestigious record in the NBA. And in that same night, Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook are both in the media today. Russell Westbrook for getting in a heated argument with Darvin Ham at halftime. And now he's getting traded like today, tomorrow. Like they're getting rid of him because of how bad that argument was for D'Angelo Russell. Like that's going to happen, right? And Anthony Davis is the only person in the entire stadium that's not standing up when LeBron breaks the record. He looked on the bench miserable. Jalen Rose called him a hater today on TV.
As of 5 seconds ago, D'Angelo Russell has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers.
Bro, can I call things or can I call things?
Is it for Westbrook?
They haven't released the details yet, but
I got it right here.
Just happened.
The Lakers, Jazz, and Timberwolves are finalizing a trade, sending D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt to LA for Russell Westbrook and a first-round draft pick to Utah and Mike Conley in a second round to Minnesota. So they traded their first-round draft pick, the 2027 one, Russell Westbrook, and they got back D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, and Jarrett Vanderbilt. And then what Utah did was they stacked up more first rounders because the first rounder went to Utah, and then Mike Conley in a second went to Minnesota. Yeah, Utah's got 75 first round draft picks.
They're like OKC now.
So Minnesota got Westbrook, Conley in a second.
No,
Minnesota got Westbrook,
Conley.
Conley
they just
in a
got
second.
Conley in picks. Yeah.
Utah got Russell Westbrook in a first.
They shipped Russell Westbrook to Utah.
That's what happens when you get argued with Darvin Ham at halftime. I guarantee it, he gets bought out. He's not playing in Utah.
Oh no, he's bought out. You know it'll be even funnier. He gets bought out and he goes on like a vet men deal and plays for the Clippers or something like that. Like something just dumb. Like he's going to go to a super contender and
he ain't going to the Clippers. They're not.
I'm not saying the Clippers, but I'm they being in LA, like their rivalry.
I can't believe that just happened. Literally as we're talking about it. D'Angelo Russell that's actually a great trade for the Lakers.
It is. Malik Beasley is a quiet piece. He's a two guard that can average 20. He won't average 20 on that team, but he can average 20 points a game. He can get his own shot. But I said it earlier. I tweeted it earlier. I don't think that trade moves the needle. I think that trade can get you to the playing game. You might get the 10th seed or the 9th seed. Maybe you make it to the playoffs, but that's not a championship winning move. Lakers are just fundamentally built weird. Like it's just not going to work the way that their roster is constructed. So I think it helps them. I think it'll probably get them to the play-in game, maybe into the playoffs, but I don't see this doesn't move the championship needle at all.
It's not going to move the championship needle, but the Lakers are a much better team after making that trade. D'Angelo Russell can shoot the basketball. Russell Westbrook cannot shoot the basketball. The difference between I think D'Angelo Russell is a light years better player than Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to star. I mean, he's going to give you more scoring, more consistent scoring. Like you said, he can shoot. He's going to spread the floor for them. Defense. He might play less defense than Westbrook does. And then like a Chelsea, I mean, Beasley is kind of, I guess, the sleeper part there. I mean, again, your starting five is dramatically better than it was yesterday.
100% great trade for the Lakers. And I hate saying that. Listen, at the end of the day, I cannot believe that LeBron broke the scoring record last night. And the two biggest conversations outside of that are coming out of LA with Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook. I don't, we're obviously talking about the Westbrook trade right now that just happened, but how about AD, man? Like, am I the only one did you guys read into that the way I did?
I did.
Look,
I saw it. I didn't see it live, but after the fact, people behind him, Anthony Davis wasn't even watching the game at that point, sat down, literally everyone else is, standing up cheering. And then even in the broadcast, them cutting over to LeBron on the bench next to Anthony Davis. And he's like, I love you, brother. And all that. Like Anthony Davis just looked like he just wasn't interested in that conversation at all. So we will see what's going on there. Time will definitely tell. It's weird though, because these two they may not be clicking right now on the basketball court, but they're both signed to Clutch Sports. Like LeBron's been a huge Anthony Davis advocate since he's been in the league, just because they've been in the same label. So it's just weird to have this dynamic. Like no matter what's going on, like even if it goes beyond just like a basketball thing, like the whole thing is just weird.
I mean, if I'm Anthony Davis, I better make sure that whole thing is the whole relationship is copacetic and on solid ground behind closed doors. LeBron can leave whenever he wants, and they can both be signed to Clutch Sports and all that they want. But LeBron runs that world, so LeBron says bye, then he'll go if he deems it to be a situation. So, and I don't think the Lakers at this point can't afford to let him go. So I don't know. I mean, I think for such a historic record to fall and you just show no emotion and like that is, I mean, even if you were a hater, I would we talk about on this show all the time. I like watching history being made. Like you literally have a front row seat for it. Like, how do you not even show any kind of emotions? Be like, damn, like,
you didn't even see the basket happen. Like,
yeah, like the most,
None.
Like the most hollowed record in the NBA just fell. Like it's a bad look. I mean, and I just don't know what else to really like what else to even say about it. It's just a bad look, and you have to know that with all the hype around him either breaking it last night or tomorrow night, there was cameras everywhere, like everything like that. Like it was going to get caught. Like your reaction was going to get caught on the bench. Like there was no way he thought like, oh, like they're not going to see me back here. The dude's 7 feet tall. Like, yeah, like you know what I mean? Like it's not like it was like Pat Bev or somebody be like, I'll hide behind somebody, like whatever. Like Anthony Davis, Anthony Davis can't hide. Like it was just, I don't know, man. It's definitely worth watching. I think it's a very weird turn of events, to be honest.
I think that it's also really interesting that LeBron James breaks the record in a losing effort to Oklahoma City. I hate saying it that way. Like it's sad, man. This guy doesn't. And look, as much as I'm always accused of being a LeBron hater. I'm not. I tell the truth about LeBron James. I wish he was in a different situation. I wish that it was a different way that it's ending for him. I don't think this is the end. Obviously, he's averaging 30 points a game. The guy's incredible. I just wish he wasn't on the Lakers. I think that the situation that's happening to him right now is very familiar to the end of Kobe, except Kobe just wasn't like you could see Kobe was not the same after the Achilles injury. LeBron still has the talent, just the team stinks.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree. I agree with everything you said. I mean, and I think honestly, after what you just turned about, like he drops 38 last night, breaks the record, and the team still loses. Like that is literally just the MO for this team this year. He played great last night, and they're not a fundamentally good basketball team right now. They have holes everywhere, and I don't care as great as he is, and he is that great. Like he can only, you can only mask those and fill those holes with one player for so long. And then on top of everything else, I mean, it's I don't know how bad I feel for him. Like he put himself there. Like that's where he wanted to go, and we all know we can all, if we're going to have an honest discussion about it, LeBron has a lot of say and a lot of pull in what who gets brought there and who doesn't. Like he advocated for Russell Westbrook. Like that awful contract was there because of LeBron James. That's what he wanted. So, but again, it's the thing I will agree 100% with Gene is I don't want to see him end this way. Like I'm not saying he has to win a championship and ride off into the sunset on a horse, and have that moment. He's certainly deserving of it if he gets it. I don't think it's going to be in LA, but I don't want to see him. You have to give him credit for his longevity, how good a shape he keeps himself in, the level that he's still playing at, like Gene said. I don't want to see him waste his last 2 or 3 years in the league squandering on a team that's barely able to get to 500. That I don't want to see.
You find it interesting? Do you guys see the whole thing of 38? So LeBron James was born 38 years ago when Kareem set the record 38 years ago of 389 points. LeBron sets the record 38,390 points. And LeBron, and the record held for 38 years. And LeBron James last night, when he broke the record, had 38 points. It's a little weird, no?
Stuff always happens. That's what's cool about sports. Like you'll never, it's stuff that always kind of like under the surface. And then when it happens, you're like, oh damn, like how did like nobody like see that? But it happens too often. I mean, it happens too often, for it to strictly be a coincidence. I'll put it that way.
Well, Cottrell, tell us about your LeGoat and the scoring record, and then we'll talk about a couple conversations.
I mean, scoring record definitely was incredible to watch. I will say this is up there for me, especially because LeBron was in Cleveland and we got to see from Ohio, all that stuff. This is memory wise though, Kobe dropping 60 his last game. Like, I remember exactly where I was at watching that. I remember where I was when LeBron broke the scoring record originally. And then Steph Curry breaking the single game 3-point record. That's the other. And I know it's not in the same ballpark as this, but when he hit the 11 threes against OKC and, hit the 40-footer to win the game with like 0.6 seconds left against OKC in those black uniforms, like, that's just like these NBA moments that I will always remember where I was watching it and what was going on around me. But this record was incredible. We saw LeBron throughout his career. He was always the youngest to reach each 1,000 mark milestone, like 1,000, 2,000, all that. So, we knew he would be not necessarily here, but we knew he'd be a high scorer, be top 10 at a point. But the longevity being here is truly, truly incredible. Everybody thought this was one of those records that would never be broken. And here we are now. I think depending on how long LeBron plays, when his career is all said and done, I'm sure there's going to be people again saying that this record probably will never be broken just because of what you would need to average to get there. But incredible feat for sure. It's unbelievable that we got to watch history.
Bill?
No, I mean, I agree. Again, I'll go right back to what I said a couple minutes ago. Like, I love watching history. I think that is, if you're an avid sports fan, I think that is the cool part of it. And definitely me and Gene's lifetime, and Cottrell seeing his fair share of it, as well. I go back to, being younger and watching things with my dad, and my dad being like, pay attention to this. Like, you're never going to see this again, like that type thing. I thought it was great to see. And again, you have to applaud him, to Cheryl's point. I think it's such a combination of things that you really do have to, give him his flowers. It's playing at the elite level since he was 18 years old. It's keeping your body in that type of shape, and, not having really any noticeable, decline in skill yet. I promise you, to be 38 and go through the grind of what he's going through right now, is not easy. He works his ass off. The dude, it's one thing you can never say about him. The dude nobody's ever accused him of not working hard or being diligent in the gym or anything like that. And that's what separates, good players from being great, and greats from being, in the discussion for being the best ever. And that is, it's applauded. I feel lucky, I never really got to see Wilt, but I was raised on Magic and Larry and Isaiah and Jordan. I got to watch all them play, and now I get the the luxury of seeing Kobe and Shaq and all those guys in between, and now I have LeBron and Steph and KD and people of that ilk. So I consider myself very fortunate. With the way today's NBA is, I hope he puts some number up there that's ludicrous, and hope nobody gets to it. But, to Cottrell's other point, we said that with Kareem, and here we are, and it doesn't look like he's slowing down anytime soon. So I think the number's a little easier to get to these days with the way basketball is played, just simply because there's so many guys coming up now they shoot so many threes, and, the up and down nature of basketball versus what it was before. The game's even changed, pretty dramatically since LeBron came into the league 20 years ago. So it's, it's awesome to see. It's a great moment. I hope he keeps it. And like I said, I'll be really curious to see where the number is when he's done. And then we get to sit back and watch everybody start chasing.
I just want to hear from everybody out in the chat, because I think I know the stance on all three of us on the panel. I think that Cottrell already had LeBron James as the greatest of all time, even before the scoring record. And I don't know if me and Bill have changed our minds on if he's the GOAT, but I'd love to hear from the chat. Does the scoring record, I want to find someone out there that had Mike as their GOAT before last night, and when LeBron passed Kareem to take the scoring record, they changed their opinion, or that was enough. That was what he needed to do. So in the chat, let us know if Mike, LeBron, who's the GOAT. So before we do, obviously we'll monitor the chat as it comes in, But Cottrell, do me a favor, and you know what? I feel like I'll go first here because I want to be the sandwich. I'll be the top piece of bread. You could be the meat, right? So I look at this as something that's made it so much more like I'll entertain someone arguing that LeBron James is the greatest of all time. He's not the greatest of all time to me, but I understand why someone would pick that. So like if your argument is longevity, like he did it, he was greater longer. It's almost like arguing Walter Payton versus Barry Sanders. Like, who do you like? Or Jim Brown versus Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders did it. His peak was better. Jordan's peak was better than Bron's. I don't know. I don't even know if Cottrell will argue that, but maybe he will. But if you want to make an argument that he's done this for 20 years in the NBA and is the all-time leading scorer and has accomplished so many things, fourth in assists, I'd listen to that. So Cottrell starts off.
I mean, yeah, you already said it. I think he's the GOAT, and I think last night just submitted that even more. I hate the GOAT conversation because it makes you have to diminish what the person that you're arguing against did in their career, and that shouldn't be the case. We're talking about two of the best of all time. But you're number one in points, like you said, Gene. Number 4 right now in assists. Obviously, I think he can get up to third. Depends on when Chris Paul officially decides to hang it up and how long LeBron wants to play after that. I think he can catch Chris there, where then you're number 1 and then you're number 3. Obviously, the monkey on his back really right now is that Jordan has 6 rings and he only has 4. It's 4 and 6 in the NBA Finals, and I 100% understand that, but we're talking about individual greatness here. And of course, championships matter. They 100% matter. But when you have more points, more rebounds, more assists, better field goal percentage, better 3-point percentage, I mean, I just don't know where I would draw the line and say Mike was definitively better. Obviously, longevity does play a part into it. You can speculate and say, what if, Jordan didn't take those 2 years off? And I think that's a great argument, but it happened and we have to address it as if it happened. So obviously I think Jordan's numbers would be a lot better had he not taken those 2 years off, and he did that. But like I said, it happened and we have to address it as such. So given all that, I would say Bron's the greatest player of all time.
Okay. So before Shally responds, I think Shally's still with Michael Jordan. That was his GOAT before this, and I think he's very strong on that. I want to ask you a question. I want to rebuttal something you said. The championships matter, right? So, like, you also slowed down a little bit when you were talking about more points, rebounds, and assists. A cumulative stat is exactly what we're talking about.
Correct.
Michael Jordan has 10 scoring titles. LeBron has 1. So to argue that LeBron is a better scorer than Michael Jordan is inaccurate. Now, if you want to say that he scored more points over the course of his career, that's fine. But to argue he's a better scorer, it's not realistic. He's not a better scorer. I don't think LeBron would tell you.
Scoring titles aren't the end all be all though, because you have guys like Kevin Durant, who's a top 5 scorer. You got guys like Steph who went on his crazy runs. Like, LeBron was losing scoring titles to people that were scoring 30 plus points a game. Like, that wasn't happening back in the 90s. So that would be my counter argument to that. Now, I didn't say that LeBron is an actual better scorer than MJ. He has more points. Like, I mean, you got to address it as what it is. Jordan average career wise, he was close to 30. LeBron's average is at 27. So obviously averages matter and all that. I think this is going to be right now LeBron's second season averaging more than 30 points if he continues where he's at right now. So it's not like he ever averaged more than 30. So I wouldn't say that. I'm not saying that LeBron is a better scorer than Michael Jordan.
Let me rebuttal. You went on your spiel. I want to give you a little bit of rebuttal. Michael was a 10-point better free throw shooter. He shot 85% from the line. LeBron shot 75% from the line. Michael was an all-NBA defender multiple times. Michael won Defensive Player of the Year. But here's the biggest point that I think a lot of people miss. You want to argue LeBron's longevity? That's fine. I'm good with that. Michael Jordan's final 6 seasons playing for the Chicago Bulls, full seasons. I'm not talking about the one he came back with a month left in the season. He won championships. 6 straight front-to-back seasons he played. He won championships. I almost felt like maybe I was younger and I just didn't get it, but I almost felt like watching Michael in the 90s, he was getting bored. Like it was just he won every year. And I'll add on to that, Cottrell. Not one of those series, well, one of them in the Eastern Conference Finals, but not one of those championship series did he ever go 7 games. They weren't even close, Cottrell. Not close. And to act like he didn't beat anyone, you brought up Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. His first championship was versus Magic. His second championship, what?
That was the end of Magic's career.
Yeah, because Michael disintegrated him. Magic was the best player in basketball in the 80s. It's from 91, bro. Am I lying?
Magic Johnson literally stopped playing basketball because he got HIV. Like that was that point. Kareem was retired. It wasn't the same show. He didn't beat the Showtime that was famous in the 80s. Like let's not paint that picture.
Pistons. He beat Magic in the finals. He beat Gary Payton and Sean Kemp in the finals. He beat Drexler and Sabonis in the finals. He beat I'm not trying to be a smart ass when I say this.
You can't. But you say names like
Malone twice.
Okay, you keep saying names like that, but let's be real here. We know that who's better, Tim Duncan or Karl Malone? Like who's better, Steph or John Stockton? Like we got people that we can compare in these eras. Like Sean Kemp is nowhere close.
Dwayne Wade or Scottie Pippen?
No, I'm with you, Scott. Dwayne Wade. Dwayne Wade's a better
you know
player.
The third best player Michael played with? You got to call Dennis Rodman or Horace Grant or Tony Kukoc as the third best player. Michael played with one bona fide all-star. You call them Hall of Famers. I get it. Bullshit. I'll call bullshit on Tony Kukoc and Dennis Rodman being Hall of Fame players and Horace Grant.
That's fine.
But LeBron played with Kyrie, Kevin Love, Chris Bosh, Dwayne Wade, Anthony Davis. Like,
no, I'm not
75 players.
I'm not arguing
Ray
that
Allen,
LeBron has.
Richard Jefferson.
Ray Allen was at the end of his career. Richard Jefferson was at the end of his career. Don't throw those guys in there.
Ray Allen won him a ring, bro. Don't. Ray Allen doesn't hit that shot. LeBron's got 3 rings, not 4.
See, we're talking about all these ifs and all this and all that. But here's the bottom line. I'm not saying that the Bulls and the LeBron's teams. I'm not saying LeBron didn't play with any other All-Stars. Obviously, that's the case. Like he won championships. He had other great players around him. Michael Jordan left the Bulls and they won 55 games without him. Michael Jordan had Phil Jackson. LeBron has never had anyone even close to the caliber of Phil Jackson. He's taken rookie head coaches to win NBA championships. Obviously, Eric Spoelstra is going to be a Hall of Fame head coach, but at the time before LeBron got there, Spoelstra hadn't won anything. So it's a completely different situation given when you're comparing both of their scenarios. When LeBron leaves teams, they end up in the lottery. When Jordan leaves teams, they go to the playoffs, they win 55 games, and they have a shot at going to the conference finals. So it's a completely different argument. It's different eras. It's very hard to judge, but you can make points and things to sway your side however you want to do it.
Bill, what are your thoughts?
I mean, you guys have both hit on a lot of things I want to talk about, to be honest. So it was fun to sit here and listen, but I'm not changing my point of view. I mean, I think it's Michael 1. I think it's LeBron 2. I will go as far now to say I think there's a gap there. I think there's a gap after LeBron. But Gene, you kind of hit on something that, we were talking about today. I was talking today with other friends. You have to respect and you have to reward LeBron's longevity. You do. And you have to give him credit for it. I went through it all over already. He's kept himself in amazing shape. He works his ass off. to play at that level. 38 is not easy. I think it's a little easier to do in today's NBA than it would have been when Michael played. I don't think anybody would realistically argue that. The other big thing for me is it is a cumulative record. You have to stay at that level and you have to keep playing to achieve it. But I heard somebody on the news today or on Sports Talk bring up a good point, and I never looked at it this way, but it's kind of a good comparison. Pete Rose had the most hits ever in Major League Baseball. You ask any baseball fan, name the best hitter in the history of the game, nobody's going to tell you Pete Rose. Pete Rose played in the league for a long time and was able to continue to do what he was doing. He's not a better hitter than Willie Mays was. He's not a better hitter than Ted Williams was. I thought that was a very interesting comparison when you look at it that way. I think it makes some kind of sense. You don't have to agree with it, but I think it makes sense. I think the other thing that's helped LeBron off big time is, and it's again, I'm not going to hold it against them, but you can't hold it against what Jordan did either. 11 out of Jordan's 15 full seasons in the NBA, he played 80 games or more out of an 82 game season. LeBron has had the luxury of the last 5 years. He hasn't played more than 60 games. He's probably going to pass that this year. Load management, rest, a better NBA schedule, all those things have helped prolong his career. I'm not going to hold it against him, but it helped.
See, I'll give you a little.
Let me finish. Go ahead. Let me finish. You talked about this for 5 minutes already. I'm going to go back to something else Gene talked about as well, though. And Cottrell, you actually touched on it as well. I don't like having this conversation because honestly, I don't have a bad word to say about LeBron James. That's on the court, off the court. I mean, I honestly, I don't think he gets enough praise for what he does off the court.
Agreed.
Cottrell, you brought up something. Where is he definitively better? Michael Jordan was a definitively better defensive player, and it's not close. And on top of everything else, I do agree with Cottrell that I think it's hard to compare this era to Jordan's era, and we all three of us have gone back and forth with that over multiple times. I think Michael would put up obscene numbers if he played in today's NBA. Obscene numbers. The dude averaged 30 points for his career, and he played in debatably the best defensive era in the NBA history. I also am not going to be one of those crazy people that said LeBron wouldn't be successful if he played back in the day. That's just stupid. He's a freak athlete. He's a genetic freak of a human being. The game was played different back then. There was no such thing as a point forward back then. LeBron's numbers, I still think he would score like he did, but the rest of his numbers would look differently. I also think LeBron back then would be a person that was a trendsetter, or he was a transcendent player that I think he would have changed the way the game was played, just like Michael did. I think you're splitting hairs. Again, to Gene's point, there's a lot of things you can argue with that I'm not going to take umbrage with. I think you can make a compelling case for both people. For me, it's still Michael. To this day, I don't think LeBron was ever as dominant as a one-off player as Michael Jordan was. And I agree with what Gene said. I don't want to hear Horace Grant. I don't want to hear any of those people. Scottie Pippen was the best player he played with, and Michael made Scottie. Scottie, for all his accomplishments, he was a great defender. He was a nice complementary player. Scottie Pippen is not he's not Dwayne Wade. And I had that argument for years. And now that Dwayne Wade's finally done, people have come around and be like, yeah, Dwayne Wade was a better player than Scottie Pippen. Yeah, he was. It's not close. For me, it's Michael. He's the most dominant player I've ever seen play basketball. And again, I was old enough to really understand the game of basketball when I grew up watching Michael. And obviously I understand the game better now. And I think LeBron's incredible. Again, I don't have a bad word to say about him. I just think Michael was better. Michael was the most one-off, take the game over, carry a team, carry an organization, dominant player that I've ever seen play basketball.
And and I'll pass it right back to Cottrell, and then we'll finish after Cottrell. Cottrell, you can get the last point because both of us are both going with Michael Jordan. But just looking at career stats is interesting too, because you would think by the way it gets talked about that Michael couldn't pass or couldn't rebound. They're not far off, right? So LeBron's career stats are 27, 7, and 7. So 7.5 boards, 7.3 assists with 27 points. Michael's career stats are 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 5.5 assists. So they're not far off as far as assists and rebounds, but LeBron constantly gets talked about as the much better passer, the much better overall rebounder when it's not that far of a difference. I also like to add that Michael's numbers were significantly lowered in his 2 years that he played for Washington after he came out of retirement as the player GM. So those 2 years affect his average. Now I'm not holding that against LeBron because if I'm using the all stats, but to me, it goes back to the same thing I talked about earlier. It reminds me of the argument of Walter Payton and Barry Sanders, or Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders is probably the better argument to me. Emmitt Smith is one of the most accomplished NFL running backs of all time, but Barry is just better and more dominant in his peak. I think that when you look at things objectively, and if you watch 90s basketball, it's just nobody in the 90s could touch him. And it was embarrassing. He was so much better than the league. You knew it was a predetermined outcome. There was a season where they walked into the NBA season as a minus 200 favorite to win the NBA Finals. That's absurd. Cottrell.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that they were necessarily close in passing. When you talk about all-time great passers of the basketball, I've never heard anyone mention Michael Jordan's name. You could say their averages were close, and if you want to say 1.5 assists, 2 assists is close, then that's fine. I don't necessarily agree with that. The last thing though that I had was just to counterpoint for Bill's argument. I do think longevity-wise with load management, it definitely helps. You definitely can play more games, but in the prime of LeBron's career, when he won to those 8 straight NBA Finals, I mean that's an extra 30+ games on your body that no one else in the league has to deal with besides, because it wasn't like the Warriors won 8 straight times and Steph had to go, play those 100+ games every season, or KD. He was going up against different teams pretty much every year. Obviously, for 4 of those years, it was the Warriors. But I think he's, in a sense, if anybody's earned the right to do load management after all that they've gone through, I would say LeBron has earned that at this point. Not saying it's right. I hate load management, but
I'll counterpoint to that. LeBron James has played 80 games or more in his career 3 out of 20 years. If he does it this year, it'll be 4. I don't think he will because I think he's missed too many games already. Did it 3 out of 20 years. So, yeah, he's playing all those extra games, the finals and everything, but so was Jordan. Jordan showed up every night and played basketball.
They also had 5-game series.
He had played 80. They also played 4 games a week sometimes. They didn't have this crap where they play 1 or 2 games a week and have 2 or 3 games off between every night. They played way more back-to-backs.
Mike did I just checked it. Mike did it
11 out of 15 years of his career. He played 80 or more games. And I think I had it looked up earlier, but he played 80. I think he played all 82 4 or 5 times. Every other year was 80 or 81, stupid games, like being sick or something, missed a game. And again, it's smart. I'm sure if Jordan played today, he might do the same thing. And I'm not holding it to LeBron, but it absolutely helps LeBron. That's an advantage LeBron has to help elongate his career.
Yeah. 80 games, 75 games, 76 games, 77 games. Semantics to me.
Now when you get to the last 5 years, it's not when he's 57, 61, and Jordan at 35 was still playing 80, 81, 82. That's 30 games, bro. It's 25, 30 games a year. That's a lot.
He also got 2 years off to heal up and rejuvenate.
He didn't get off to heal up and rejuvenate. He played baseball.
Which is the biggest grind in the world, dude.
And he didn't play. It wasn't like he was playing Major League Baseball.
He played every day, Double-A baseball. He wasn't
Yeah,
sitting on the
double
bench
A.
for Chicago White Sox.
It wasn't NBA where he's got the team on his back for 40+ minutes like the grind was when he was in the league.
That's the worst argument.
Rode a bus. He rode a bus.
It's played 2 games and get on a bus for 8. Bro, go ride a bus for 8 hours and get out and play 2 baseball games. Let me know how you feel. That Gene's right. That was the worst argument you could have just made for that.
That was the worst part. I agree. Look, Cottrell, I agree that there's a huge argument, but don't tell me Mike took a year and a half or 2 years off. He didn't.
I mean, if you want to,
minor league baseball is the biggest grind in professional sports.
So it's a terrible grind.
He played 162 minor league games. Then he played the full season, like he was grinding just like everybody else. That's what you're telling me.
Double-A plays like 120. Yes, he played a full season.
Okay.
Strike short in seasons. The only reason he came back, and he finished the 95, 96 season or 94, 95 season. He finished that season in the NBA. So he played 60 games in minor league baseball.
That one doesn't count. He lost before the finals. That season doesn't count.
Well, it kind of counts for his longevity.
It doesn't count. He lost in
so you're saying that because Jordan fans don't count the season?
That one doesn't count.
It does matter, though, the fact that he went from baseball to play basketball with only 17 games back in the NBA season. Like, yes, he didn't beat Shaq and Penny that year, and I'll give all the credit in the world to Shaq and Penny for beating him that season. But the next season, he came back with a full season and a full team. He swept Shaq and Penny. Swept them. Like, didn't even, just wipe the floor with them. That was the most dominant season you ever seen from Jordan, was the season after he lost. So, call it what it is. Look, I get your point, and I will now entertain the LeBron for GOAT discussions because they have merit, but I will never sit here and tell you that Pete Rose was a better overall hitter than Ted Williams. I will never sit here and tell you that.
That's also because Pete Rose didn't have 700 home runs.
That's not about the home runs, it's about the hits. I think Tony Gwynn's a better hitter than Pete Rose.
But if Pete Rose had all those hits and he had 700 home runs, you'd be having conversations about Pete Rose being the greatest hitter ever.
Ted Williams doesn't have 700 home runs.
Well, my point is, if he's fourth in home runs, which would be in the 700 club,
he's not.
You'd be having conversations.
And if LeBron James won 6 championships, I wouldn't be having this conversation. I'd be on your side.
Hey, team game.
But it's a we can go on for us all night, so I'm gonna leave. I'll let you finish with that line.
If LeBron had Phil Jackson, hey, you never know.
You got 2 of them now. You want to go for a third?
Depends on what you say.
UFC. Let's pull it up. Light card. Look, great main event in which is almost predetermined. But a light overall card. There's 2 good fights. Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett will be a very fun fight to watch. And we'll talk about that. Islam Makhachev versus Volkanovski is, champ versus champ. But I think the odds tell you what you need to hear. And look, I would love to sit here and tell you I think Volk's got a serious shot at winning this fight. But we'll get into that. Undercard on this fight, anything you want to look out for on this card, Cottrell? Overall UFC card outside of the 2 main fights that you want to bring up?
Nope. Honestly, there's nothing on the undercard that is intriguing to me. There's no bright spot on it. I think it just is. It'll probably be entertaining because every time that there's not the flashy names on it, it's usually a great card. You get a lot of knockouts and submissions and things like that, but there's nothing that I want to highlight on it.
I'll give a little betting, just a couple betting tips. I would throw a couple dollars on Alonzo Menafield. He's plus 154 versus Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute is super overrated because of his name. He walks into fights chin first. So just my personal opinion there. Everything else on the undercard does not excite me at all. So I'll leave that alone. On to and we can't even say that the 3 main fights because the third fight is terrible. That they literally are just highlighting 2 fights on this card. I'm not going to talk about Jack Della Maddalena versus Randy Brown. I'm not going to talk about a 5-3 fighter that made the pay-per-view, which drives me absolutely up a wall. But what we will talk about is Yair Rodriguez, who is a -196 favorite, versus Josh Emmett, a +152 dog. What are your thoughts on that fight, Cottrell? Who do you have? And we'll go right down the line.
Interesting matchup here. Josh Emmett, he just had a win against Calvin Kattar. Yair Rodriguez came off of his unfortunate win over Brian Ortega. I like Yair Rodriguez to win this fight. I like what Yair does. I think he's going to be able to stand and bang with Josh Emmett. I was telling Eugene, I think Josh Emmett is more of a weight bully. And it's nothing against that. Like if you can get down to the weight, crazy cut to get to the weight, then more power to you. But I think Yair is going to be able to push the pace in this one, and I don't think Josh Emmett is going to be able to bully Yair like how he's bullied other people in this division. So I think Yair is going to capture the interim featherweight belt, and I'll say how I feel about the Volk and Makhachev matchup, but eventually this belt will get unified, I think. Give me a 4th round TKO from Yair.
Okay. Shally, who you got in Yair versus Josh Emmett?
Kind of look at it the same way Cottrell does. I think Emmett is not a byproduct, but to Cottrell's point, I think he gets away with just being a little bit bigger, being able to bully guys sometimes. I think Yair Rodriguez's striking is going to nullify a lot of that. I don't know about you guys. I'm a little annoyed that this is for an interim belt. Volk took like one fight to go up and like have almost like a super fight, and now we have to have an interim belt. I hate that in general, but to Gene's point, they had to sell this card somehow. So I think Rodriguez is his striking is a little bit too dynamic for Emmett. I think he's going to be able to score points. I think he's going to do damage on the feet. I like him in a 2nd round TKO to win the interim belt.
Oh, Josh Emmett hasn't lost a fight in like 4 years. Josh Emmett's an absolute stud. He's a bully. He's going to wrestle you. He's going to drag you down. He keeps coming. He was knocked out by Jeremy Stephens. It's the only time he's ever been stopped in his career. He lost an early decision. Yair Rodriguez wants to stop this fight. I think if it goes to points, I think Josh Emmett's going to outpoint him. I really believe that. I think Emmett will take him down. I think he'll use his wrestling. I think he'll push him around. He's the bigger of the 2 fighters. To Cottrell's point, yes, he does. He does massive weight cut to get down, but he's strong. He's a super low to the ground fighter. So he keeps his head out of danger often. He gets hit with those uppercuts every once in a while, but never the huge haymaker that puts him out. Jeremy Stephens, you're talking about one of the biggest punchers ever at 145, knocked him out. And that was, listen, Jeremy Stephens throws the heaviest hands in the division. I don't think Yair Rodriguez is anywhere on that level. And one of the other things I'll talk about Yair Rodriguez is in some of his fights, and even versus Max Holloway, he gasses, right? Like he gasses. One of the things that you'll point out, one of the best fights I ever seen the Yair Rodriguez fight was versus the Korean Zombie, and he got a 5th round stoppage. And I was so shocked that he lasted that 5th round. And I thought he was really turning a corner. And then he fought Max Holloway, who just took him to the gym and took him to the clinic. And I just felt like that you've seen the difference in cardio aspect. Josh Emmett's got great cardio, and I think that this fight ends as a Josh Emmett 4-1 decision, if not 3-2. I just think that Yair's a little flashier. He'll probably take the early round. But if this fight hits the 3rd and 4th round, I think Josh Emmett's your winner. So to Shally's point, if it does catch him in a 2nd round knockout, which is the only round he's ever been stopped in, was 2nd round knockout by Jeremy Stephens in 2018. So I'll go Josh Emmett by decision at +340. All right, so we got the main event of the evening. Volkanovski is a +285 dog versus Islam Makhachev after what Makhachev did to Oliveira. I don't know how. I think minus 400 is right. You know, it's crazy to think Volk is a plus 285 versus anybody. That Volk is stepping in the ring versus anybody. Now, I'll go first on this one because I went last on the last one. What I think benefits Volk is his low to the surface body style is very tough to sprawl at. If you ever look at Volk's stance, he's not a guy that very often gets taken down by the legs. Now, Islam is just a different creature that we haven't seen before. We actually have seen before. His name is Habib Nurmagomedov. But Islam is just silly good at getting his arm around your leg. But even in Habib's career, he did get caught by Dustin Poirier. Now, he recovered and won the fight, but he has been caught before. Volkanovski is by far one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC. He has great takedown defense. He's a good wrestler. He's not anywhere near the world-class wrestler that Makhachev is. The fight gets on. If Volkanovski's on his back, he's in a lot of trouble. But I think that I think Volk will keep this fight honest for a while. I think he'll surprise some people. I might sprinkle Volk by TKO with a quarter unit, but I think that Islam Makhachev ultimately wins this fight because I think he's just too dominant. I think his length gives Volk a lot of issues, and I think he'll try to get in on the takedown above instead of low. I think that his takedown will come from the clinch and not from a sprawl, if that makes sense.
Does.
Oh, good.
You want me to go?
Good.
So, obviously, if you guys been following us since the beginning, Islam has been one of my favorite fighters for forever. I think this fight is going to go very similarly to what we saw Volk and the T-City Brian Ortega fight went, where Brian Ortega had his success once he got Volk to the ground, and there was a point where Brian Ortega was almost your featherweight champion. He had a submission in, and it was locked in pretty tight, but Volk found a way to slip out of it, and ultimately got the win there. But I think this is going to be more of that. Like, I think Islam, he has the weight advantage. This is his division. So, I mean, by fight night, I think Islam will probably be close to 170, honestly. I think his sambo, his ability to wrestle, he's going to be able to get Volk down. Whenever he's in danger of Volk strikes, like if Volk has these combos going and he's putting the pressure on him on the feet, I think Islam can find a way to just pure strength alone, I think, can take down Volk. And once you get on the ground with Islam, you're in his wheelhouse. And then I think it's very possible Volk gets choked out some way or gets put in some submission. I like Islam via I've been going back and forth between third and fourth round submission.
And in hindsight, letting Cachal go before me was a terrible idea. I was going to bring up the Ortega fight. I think you're going to see a lot of that. I do agree with Gene as well. I don't think it's going to be necessarily a double leg or anything like that. I think he's going to look to shoot high and work out of the clinch and get Volk down that way. Volk, as we've seen, in a couple other fights when he's been put on his back, he's a fish out of water. Doesn't love it. Not real effective from there. It's kind of survive and get up. Like Cottrell said, he brought the Ortega fight. Ortega almost won that fight with submission. It is not Volk's strong suit by any means. Length, I don't think is going to be that big of an issue as I thought it was going to be. I actually looked at it today with the reaches. Islam's only got like a half-inch reach, so I think Volk can get in and out and hit his shots, hit his spots, and dance in and out. I just think Islam over the course of a 5-round fight is just going to be too much. He's too big. He's too strong. I do think eventually he wears Volk down a little bit, gets on top of him, and then I think the end is kind of near there. I had 4th round submission as well, so Cottrell stole literally every bit of thunder I had for this conversation.
I think if it's a 4th round submission, it's a great fight, and we're happy to watch it.
I agree.
I fear most is if Islam does what he did to Charles, to Volk. And if that happens, I don't know who in this division will even be able to penetrate the Islam armor. Because if he can get Volk, who's very good at takedown defense, and like I'm sure his entire camp is making sure you don't get taken down. The difference in the fight is not the length of the arm length. It's the fact that Volk is 5'6" and Islam's 5'10". 4 inches in height is so that's why I think it will come from the clinch. I think Volk's got to stick and move, and I just don't know if he can do it for 5 rounds.
Gene, I love what you said though about the Volk sprinkling in Volk TKO, because I truly think that's the only way Volk can win this fight. 100%. Obviously, he's not gonna submit him, and I don't think there's any way if this goes to the decision that Makhachev is not winning because of what's gonna be the case with the takedowns. Like he's either gonna knock him out, or he's gonna get submitted, or he's gonna just get dragged down every round, and Islam's gonna win by points. Like I think those are the only 3 possibilities that you have this fight.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how much stock I put in it, but I've read it, and a lot of people are. Khabib will obviously not be there in his corner fight, and a lot of people thinks that could be a detriment if like we all think if it's in the deeper waters. So something to keep an eye on. Like I said, I don't know if it makes a difference. A lot of people seem to think it's going to. And obviously, the longer Volk can stay in that fight and land shots and stay competitive with it being in front of his home crowd, like that is going to be a very pro Volk and a very, very anti-Islam crowd there on Saturday. It's in Australia, so it's going to be it'll be a raucous atmosphere. At least that'll be fun. I think the main event's very good, and it's Volk in front of his home crowd, and that's what they're selling on this pay-per-view.
I just want to remind everybody of the Arman fight, the Arman Sukaram. I can't say his last name well, but he was the only one to really compete with Islam, and it was a decision, and it was unanimous, but it was a decision in which he took Islam down, and he got up from Islam on the ground once. Now, Islam took him down 4 times, to be clear, but just remind you of that fight that there's crazier things that have happened in the sport, and I can see Islam getting caught with one nice haymaker. But listen, I think the easiest money is Islam by submission. I think that's the bet. But I will sprinkle on Volk TKO.
I do like that as well. 25 on both. I feel like you come out happy, or however you want to put, whichever ones has the higher odds or whatever.
Pull it up right now. I'll tell you. Islam by submission is plus 155. So you're getting plus money on both ends.
Yeah.
Volk by TKO. KO is plus 850.
Ooh. So much more value than Volk money line because TKO is the only way that's happening.
They have Volk by points as a higher odds percentage, but I just don't see how that happens.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
All right, so we got you got to be kidding me this week. We'll wrap up the show. Gatrell, start us off, my friend.
All right, so my you got to be kidding me this week is my guy, good old Roger Goodell. He had a little press conference, if you will, today. Obviously, the whole Super Bowl media is going on. And of course, they were asking him questions. He kind of deflected the whole. They asked him, concussions this year were up 18% compared to last year. Kind of ducked about how they're going to go about improving that, which I understand. If you don't have a full game plan, I get answering that politically, whatever. But then he was asked about officials this year, and he said, I'm going to paraphrase it. He said, officials this year, I think we're in the best place than we've ever been, essentially. He thinks the officials are doing a phenomenal job, and I just think that's crazy. You have people talking about them trying to get rid of the hip slide tackle for next year, which I think is going to be impossible to police. Like, I don't think, obviously you have your one-offs where people do it with malicious intent, but you got to find ways to get ball carriers down to the ground. So that's one thing that's already been floated out there. So if you're talking about doing things like that, obviously, the officials aren't doing a phenomenal job. And then you got other things too. The roughing the passers this year have been absolutely atrocious. Like, we have to go revisit what roughing the passer is. I mean, at this point, you got to basically just lay the quarterback down gently if you don't want to get a flag. So I think that's atrocious. And not even just the whole regular season. We could just talk playoffs alone, how many blunders we've seen. Like, I feel like every single week that we've done a show and we've recapped the playoffs, it's been like, hey, these missed calls here. We talked about the wire lot, the punt hitting the wire and no one knowing what the hell was going on. Like, there's so many blunders right now with the NFLs and their officials, and it just being so inconsistent. So for Roger Goodell to say that, I mean, at this point, it really seems like a joke that he's defending like that. So Roger Goodell this week.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
Shally, there's a couple big ones. Which one are you taking?
I was going to take Kyrie, but I decided not to since we kind of already covered on it. So I had it back up. I'm actually going to go to women's college basketball this week. I'm going to go with Gino Auriemma.
I'm glad you're doing it.
So Gino Auriemma, after I think they're number 4, number 5 in the country. They played host to South Carolina this weekend. Dawn Staley's Gamecocks went up there. They were the number 1 team in the country, undefeated. They still are. UConn jumped out to a big lead in that game. South Carolina came all the way back and ended up winning by 8 or 9 points. After the game, Gino being Gino couldn't be gracious, couldn't say anything, great per se about South Carolina. Started bitching about the officiating and how physical South Carolina plays and how some of his players had bruises and this and that and that. This is just Gino 101. Gino expects to win everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. You hold your program to that kind of, high of a standard. South Carolina is the new dominant team on the block. Dawn Staley's got a bunch of girls that play basketball just like Dawn Staley did. They're a bunch of dogs, man. They are scrappy. They are tough. They are physical. They are the best team in the country. Gino does not like losing. He is not the top dog on the block this year. Listen, bro, you've won championship after championship after championship. You did it at a time when women's college basketball wasn't that competitive. And over the course of the last 5, 6, 7 years, it has. All these programs have been built up. People were gracious when you were knocking the doors off them by 50 in championship games or semifinal games, and you're beating the balls off people, and you didn't pull your starters. You left Brianna Stewart out there. You left whoever out there to keep pouring in buckets when the game was already in hand. And those Baylor teams, those Notre Dame teams, those Stanford teams still gave you your flowers, still gave you your respect, even though you were being a jerk about it. You got beat on your home court by a superior team. The days of you getting every 5-star girl on the planet are over. You need to start coaching more. Be a better coach. But don't disrespect Dawn Staley. Don't disrespect South Carolina because they out-physicaled you on your home court. You got beat by a better basketball team. They're the best team in the country. Be a little gracious. Show some class. Don't be an asshole. So this week, Gino Auriemma.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
It's a great one, Bill. I mean, there's so many good recruiters around college basketball now, and female recruiters now, female coaches like Kim Mulkey and Dawn Staley. I'm not a Kim Mulkey fan. It should be clear there, but
not either. But she's a good coach.
All right, so it's funny. I was going to cut with Kyrie also before tonight. Before last night, before this morning, if we're being honest. Going to Anthony Davis, and if you think you're going to be an awful teammate, and I'm not going to, what's very consistent about me on this show? I call anybody out for being a trash teammate. I don't care what the situation is. LeBron James broke the most prestigious record in the NBA last night. You're a partner in Clutch Sports. I don't care if you have to fake it. If you're upset that you're playing a shitty game, if Darvin Ham and Russell Westbrook's argument at halftime is bothering you, if you're pissed that you're losing to the Oklahoma City Thunder, some things are bigger than the specific game that you're in. Let's take it a step further. Let's go a step further here. Is it jealousy? What is it? AD, I don't know if you thought you were getting an NBA championship with any other team other than the one LeBron handpicked you to play on in 2019, 2020. But you have a championship. You make a lot of money, and LeBron is your so-called friend and your teammate. He broke a record last night, and every single person in that stand as a fan was standing watching that moment. Players from the Oklahoma City Thunder were standing watching that moment. Every single player on the Los Angeles Lakers bench was standing watching that moment. You just sat and sulked. Didn't even see it. Then got in the press conference and were just cold. You were just cold. No congratulatory. Weren't very congratulatory to LeBron James when they asked what needs to happen for this team to be better. We just need to win more. Great answer, AD. I appreciate that. How do you need to win more? That's what they're asking you. You are a bad teammate, and anytime you're a bad teammate, I'm going to call you out for it because, one thing that I'm sure Bill could tell you from playing on teams with me before, especially his tournament team, that I would show up to a tournament where I was the 13th best guy out of 13 guys that were there. And I'd be the loudest guy on the bench, want to coach third base every single game I could do it, and go hit whenever I could hit and play whenever I could play. That's what teammates do. You're one of the best players in the world, and you're signed to the same agency as this man. You guys have family nights together. Inexcusable. So for that reason, Anthony Davis this week.
Come on, you gotta be kidding me.
All right, gentlemen. Any final thoughts? I want to give one quick final shout out again to my best friend, RJ. Happy birthday, my guy. Love you. I hope that you're listening. I know you tuned in the middle of the show. Even if you're out with your family, you're always checking in the chat or leaving it on. So I appreciate that, man. And I hope you have the happiest of birthdays. I do have a final word. If you guys have one, I'm going to give one more final quote at the end.
I don't got nothing this week. Go Birds, baby. That's it.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to get into. This is the Super Bowl, guys. I couldn't be more excited to be able to watch the game. I'll be running a block pool. It's $10 a block. I'm starting it tomorrow morning. What an idiot I am. Bill's having trouble filling the last 4 slots in his.
We're down to 2. We're down to 2.
My point being is it'll be an all-profit block pool. It's $10 a block. We're doing $100 for the first quarter, $250 for halftime, $150 for the third quarter, and $400 if my math is correct. I'm pretty sure that's accurate. But it's $1,000. So you want to get in, it's $10. You can Venmo Wire to Wire Sports Pod or Gino8121, and I'll have the block up on Facebook, and I'll fill it in as people just text me or send me your number, and I'll put it right in there. I'll get the page up. But I hope the Philadelphia Eagles can pull out a second Super Bowl. I'll have my dad with me. He'll my little Eagles urn with his name on it. He watched the game with us last week, and I hope he's not embarrassed at the way I scream and cheer for the Eagles. But love you, Pop, and go Eagles, and bring home a Super Bowl. Thanks, guys.